All right. So is there any rhyme or reason to this, or do we just kind of talk about podcasts, or how do you guys do this?
It's a good question for tonight.
Stacey, explain your baby.
Explain my baby. My baby is not Blab. My baby, this is like some kind of mutant hybrid of my baby. My baby just came from listening to podcasts and then writing a blog post about it. Kind of like what sparked this tonight. So I hear you wrote another blog post about podcasts.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
I think that was a rerun of an old one, but I've got some new ones since then. So, but yeah, I'm definitely all about talking about this. So, yeah.
Cool. And you have your own podcast, right? With I know his last name is Dearberry, and I do not remember his first name. Jed, that's it.
Yes. Me and Jed do have a podcast on the BAM Radio Network. So, yes, we do.
What got you into that?
Funny you asked that. I got this random email out of the blue from Jeanette Bernstein, the producer there, and she said, "Hey, would you like to do a podcast about student engagement? We're going to set you up with a co-host." And I'm like, okay. I kind of wanted to do a podcast anyway. And so they set me up with this co-host that I had never met before. It was kind of the weirdest thing. And it totally worked out. I mean, me and Jed are kind of like peanut butter and jelly. I mean, it just works, you know? So that's kind of how it worked out. And we're still we're hit and miss, but we're still doing it.
So you don't come out regularly, or
we for a long time I'd say a long time, it was like 3 months. We were like every week. And then there's been a big hiatus, and now we're kind of trying to jump back into it. And we've had a couple of cancellations on our guests that we wanted to have on the show. And so it's been a little bit tricky. I think we're 2 weeks solid right now, and we're trying to get another one in there so that we're not too far off. But yeah, we're trying to get back to regular. I know how important it is to publish on a schedule, you know, so.
Yeah. Now, Matt, with this show, and this actually came up in a Voxer group that I'm in about podcasting, which I should invite you to.
Okay.
How do you and your co-host acquire your guests? What's the plan that you take? How do you secure those guests?
We just kind of bounce ideas off of each other, and sometimes it's like one of us will go invite somebody, and we'll just check the other person's calendar and figure out when they're free, and we'll just book them. I trust his judgment enough, and he trusts mine enough that we just kind of go and get them. But I mean, right now I'm looking over here at my whiteboard to my left, and there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 people that we have that we just chatted about recently that we want to invite that we haven't invited yet. So we just kind of brainstorm and get people, and that's kind of how it works for us, at least. He's got a lot of friends in like the State Teacher of the Year network, and I've got a bunch of friends in the like EdTech Google space, and so like you meld those two together, and we can come up with some pretty good shows.
I said that's one heck of a Venn diagram of content.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes we get people that like overlap in the middle that are in both of those circles, and that's even cooler. So plus he's a Skype master teacher, and so he's got people in the Skype world that he can invite on too. So that's pretty cool.
What do you mean by Skype master teacher? How does that? What is that?
I'm not sure how it comes to be, but it's like if you've done a whole bunch of stuff with Skype and you know all about it, and you've created some really neat experiences for your students, then that's something that you can go apply to be part of. And I want to say, I don't know how many there are of them. There's like 15 or 20 or 30 or something like that. And so
that's cool.
Yeah. And so they're kind of like ambassadors for the product on the education side. So if teachers need help or they want to go to talk to somebody, then that's who they go to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. I kind of wish I was one too, but
I was thinking the same thing.
You're a Google educator. I mean,
that is. I love talking about that. That was the whole application process was pretty nerve-wracking because you have to do a regular application with all the demographics, and you got to create the video and all of this stuff. And so you put it out there, And then the day that they announced when they're going to send out all of the acceptance emails, everybody's all like sitting on pins and needles. And there's already a hashtag for that at Google Teacher Academy. And so we're all like sending messages back and forth. And then all of a sudden, boom, all the emails go out all at once. And then people start shooting out these tweets. Oh, I made it. Oh, I made it. Oh, I didn't get it this year. And I heard that one year they sent all of those out during a big ed tech conference somewhere. And so all these people were sitting in the keynote session, and all of a sudden in the silence you hear, yes, yes, oh, yes, oh. It's like all of these people are getting these emails all right at once. So, but it was a pretty wild experience. I was there in Austin, Texas with about 50 other educators of all different walks. Some that I was familiar with on Twitter, some that I'd never heard of before. And we got to hang out with other people who are real big in the Google space. And it wasn't so much about, sometimes I had a hard time explaining this to my colleagues because they were like, oh, you're going to some Google training, right? I'm like, no, that's not exactly what it is. Because it's like, we're familiar with Google, we're doing cool things with Google, and we want to take it to the next level, you know? So it was just a lot of us sharing ideas. There were some formal sessions and all of that, but most of it was just connecting with those people and sharing ideas and collaborating and stuff like that. So it was a pretty cool experience. So, yeah.
So Matt, you had mentioned that you had, prior to getting the show with BAM, that you were interested in doing a podcast of some sort.
Yeah, it had intrigued me, but I'd never actually jumped and done it myself.
Aside from what you're doing with BAM, if you could podcast about any topic, what would you be interested in creating content about?
Oh gosh.
And I'm going to throw that out to everybody.
Well, I love the topic that I get to talk about right now is student engagement, getting kids excited about what we do in the classroom. So I love that. I would love to do, I don't know. I mean, obviously tech related stuff would be great. Even doing something about Google, I think would be cool too. I don't know. I'm kind of open to lots of stuff. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say too.
I joked that my podcast would be called The Generalist, just because being elementary ed, it's all very general and it's everything. And it would just be like whatever my interests are for that week or month or 6 weeks, whatever.
Yeah, that's how I don't even know what I would do. I think that's why I never actually started and just kept listening. You know, besides my passion being history and sports, baseball more, I'm just like, baseball, history? I don't even know where to go with it. So I kind of just listen to everybody else around me and just kind of enjoy it. I don't know if I can even create. Chris says create. I don't even know what to create. I can't even think of a blog post to write. You want me to sit here and talk to people for 30 minutes, an hour? Can't even write for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
There are two things I'm interested in. I would be interested in doing something sports related, more laid back. And then the other would be, my other interest would be like DIY projects and things that I've created and built.
I would totally listen to that.
Chris shows us all his makerspace stuff, his home makerspace, his son's bed, whatever he's doing in the kitchen.
Yeah. I've loved watching pictures of all of that stuff. Chris, I have to say one of my favorite episodes that you've done was the one where you and your wife were talking about making ends meet on teacher salaries.
Ooh.
I remember listening to that in the car, and that was the neatest. It was just a neat like change of pace, and then to hear it come from you guys' heart, you know.
I totally agree. That's why I voxed you immediately. Like I literally listened to the rest of it in the car as I was in my driveway, and then I got out and I was voxing you on the way into the house because it was such a different feel, and it had a different impact, and it was just, I don't know, it had different energy, and I really like that one. Agreed, Matt. That was a good pick.
Yeah. Chris, did you get any feedback about that one?
I did. I like Stacey said, she immediately reached out, and I had a number of people via Twitter and email, and even through Kate's Twitter, just appreciate the genuineness of the conversation. And the theme of the feedback was, there's not a lot of people talking about this aspect of education or what it's like to be an educator. And how that part of our lives work. And that's for me, it's every day. So we had a lot of fun putting that together, and she had a blast doing it too.
That's
And
cool.
the other cool part too is that you still kept with your theme. Like there was still a tech component to it. There was an underlying piece of technology in there, whether it was your spreadsheet that you talked about, or saving money through just cutting some technology out of your lives, like using your dumb phone.
That cracked me up. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. And the fact that she's always around is that we're always living that episode on a daily basis. And actually today we went to speaking of hacking stuff, we went to IKEA here in New Jersey. So Matt, do you have IKEAs out near you?
We're supposed to be getting one in the Indianapolis area, like suburban Indianapolis, but yeah, out near, like specifically where I live, out in the middle of nowhere in rural Indiana, no.
Okay, so you'll get it, you'll enjoy it, you'll love it. So we went there today. We had to actually make a return, which I don't recommend doing. So if you're not sure about something at IKEA, don't buy it, because the return was the hassle. But in the car on the way back, she was talking about, or we were both talking about her venture into her new site called Frugal Momster, and she's been struggling a little bit with, what do I write? How often should I post blog posts to this new thing? And she's like, I should really just do a podcast. That would just be easier. And I feel like I could do more by talking. To which I said, yes, dear, I'll help you in any way I can. So I guess be on the lookout for a Frugal Momster podcast.
Nice.
Nice.
I
Yeah.
think that would be awesome. I think that's a nice way to get other insights, other ways people save money, like crazy coupon people, and the person who only buys their stuff after the season is over, and plans a whole year and ahead.
And
Stuff that I could never do.
There's a huge niche in that particular space, in the frugal moms space. I mean, there are bloggers that make a living or have surpassed their spouse's living by doing that. And I mean, not that it has to be for money or anything, but just that there's a demand for it. There's an interest for it. So I think that would be awesome. So, hey, there was a comment over here. I think Brent wanted me to show you guys my office. Do you want to see my office?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So
Especially the whiteboard.
my wife and I we just finished building a house. We did some of it. We contracted most of it out, but we've been in it for a little over 2 months, almost 3 months now. And this is like my favorite room in the entire house. And I just put some stuff up in it here recently. So I'm going to disconnect as many of my cords on my computer as I can, so that I can, because you guys are on my laptop. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is in one corner of the room. There's my desk. That's where I was sitting just a minute ago. And the little bookshelf thing back behind me is, I just realized the other day at 17 years old, because my dad and I made that right before I went to college.
That's cool.
That's
And
awesome.
the big spot where the picture frame is, that's my Google certified teacher certificate. And that's where the TV went. Do you remember when TVs were that size?
Yes.
We made that specifically for my college dorm room TV.
That's awesome.
What
So that's custom
went
right
in
there.
there. Yes, it was, exactly. And so I was worried that I wouldn't have anything to fit in there, but it fits really nicely. And so there's some copies up there of my book, of course. Now this is one thing that I was very excited that I'd have a place for, is my old cameras. I used to buy and sell vintage cameras on eBay. I would go to like estate auctions, and the dumb phone. Yes, Brent, that's right. See that, Chris? You see that right there? I put that up there with all of the other relics on that top shelf.
Is that a Razor, or is that just an old-fashioned flip phone?
I don't know. It's an old Motorola. Let's take a look at it here. This was one that I actually used. It's pretty old.
Oh my goodness, I remember that one.
Yeah. So I hung on to a couple of those cameras and haven't had any place to put them. So
Those
that's
cameras
one
are
side
cool.
of it. Yeah. And then this is the other side. This is the not so pretty side. See, my house isn't completely done yet because we haven't finished staining and varnishing the doors there. So those two doors that go into that closet are still not on the hinges yet. So
And
all
then
good.
be
yeah, so there's that. There's the great big
There's the
whiteboard with
whiteboard.
the. Yep, that's right, and that's about it. So
cool.
there you go.
Love
There's
it.
the tour of my office.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think you heard my question.
I didn't hear it
Oh,
either.
did you have a question?
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Where's the bin where you throw all the textbooks?
The window.
Not in here.
That's awesome. You do need a nice yellow garbage bin.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, I need to make that happen. That's true. No, there are textbooks in this house because my wife still she teaches social studies and she's using them less and less, but there are still some of them around and they're not in plain sight. So yeah, no bin, unfortunately.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. So
Now, Matt, the other thing that you're doing is you have the opportunity, based on the success of Ditch That Technique, is you get to go around the country and speak and conduct professional development. Can you talk a little bit about those experiences, touring the country, and how you're impacting teachers?
yeah, it's sort of a dream come true for me. I had, for the last 3 or 4 years, once I started blogging and getting into this, I thought, man, what would it be like? Is it even possible to do this like full time? And I don't know how long this will last and if I'll continue doing this or if I'll get the itch to go back in the classroom or what. But I mean, for right now, it's exciting to get to go to other schools and to go to education conferences and stuff and meet people and share things from the book. And it's almost like the way that I was before as a teacher, but now teachers are my students instead of kids being my students. And so it's like kind of the same thing, only different material, different people. And of course, the funny thing about that is that even though I have teachers as my students, they are still very much like kids when you try to teach them things. As you can probably imagine, and all three of you are nodding your heads, you know exactly what
For
I mean.
sure.
Yeah. And
The worst students.
sometimes they are worse.
They're the worst because they're not compliant, and not that you're looking for compliant children, but
Right. Yeah.
they will
But
tell
still,
you like it is. Whereas there's still a level of respect that comes from kids.
yeah, exactly. So, no, but it's been cool. The hard part is trying to get the balance right, is trying to like balance being away from my family and being home and all of that. And being able to do this full time means that I can work on some other projects, that I can do through the website, being able to come on with you guys and do this and just various other stuff it makes possible. It's a lot of fun. So I'm just continually trying to find ways to bring value to people. It's like, if I get the opportunity to do this, then I'm going to do whatever I can to give back to anybody that will listen or read, basically. So, but yeah, it's been very cool.
So how long have you been out of the classroom for?
Just this school year. After my book got published, I started to get more and more speaking engagements for the next school year, to the point that my wife and I are looking at my schedule and we're going, well, we're out of personal days now. Right. So we either need to start saying no to everything or start saying yes to everything. And so we decided we would say yes to everything and give it a shot. And it has gone well. So.
So are you on are you on sabbatical?
You can call it that. Yeah. I asked my school board for a 1-year unpaid leave of absence, and nobody had ever really done that. It's not in our contract. It's not in any sort of bylaws or rules or anything. So I basically just pitched it to them and said, hey, here's what I want to do. What do you think? And so they said yes. And so I have my teaching job waiting for me for next year. And so the big decision now is, do I want to, hey, there's Peggy George. Hi, Peggy. Oh, all right. So I'm getting high fives from her. That's cool. And so I finally figured out what this meant. I didn't know what that meant for a while. And then all of a sudden Peggy starts popping up and I'm like, oh, okay, I think I know what that means now. Yes, thank you. So, yeah, the big question is going to be, is that something that we want to keep doing? Do we want to keep going this route, or do I want to go back in the classroom? And so we've got to.
Now, are you both on sabbatical?
No, she's still teaching at at the same school where I taught. It's a junior, senior high school. She does more junior high. I've done more high school. And then my kids are in the same element. This is the coolest thing. This is what I love about small schools, is that my kids are in the elementary school in the same district, but the junior, senior high school is connected to the elementary school at the cafeteria. So we all used to ride in last year at least. We rode in together in the same car, and the kids would just walk through the cafeteria to get to the elementary school. And then what I could do if I really wanted to was during my prep, I could go walk down the hallway, walk right past my wife's class, kind of peek in, see what she was doing, go down to the cafeteria, and 2 of my kids would be at lunch during my prep. So I get to hug them. I'd wait about 5 minutes, then the third one would show up. I'd get to hug her, and then I could go back and still have 20 or 30 minutes left on my prep.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Great things about small schools, right?
Yeah, that's super neat.
Yeah.
Now, when you say small, can you put a number on that?
I can't remember what the overall enrollment is, but last year our graduating class was 32 kids. Graduation was 30 minutes. It was awesome. Not even kidding. 30 minutes.
Wow.
Now back to the 1 year thing real quick. Would that be akin to like a maternity leave? Not that you're having a baby, but in terms of how your district let you do this, basically?
Yeah, I think so. That it's, kind of like how a maternity leave is, they get somebody to cover you for that time while you're gone, and then you come back. And that's basically what it is. So, yeah.
So look, I understand how meaningful it is to teach students, right? And it's also great to teach teachers because they're going to reach the students. But how much do you absolutely miss being in the classroom and like that it's coming up to that year decision? How much is it pushing you towards, I love this, but I got to be with the kids.
Yeah.
Use your technique in your classroom. Right. Okay. Right.
I've been lucky because I've gotten to go back in my school district and sub some. So I've gotten to go into classrooms that I would have never seen as a high school Spanish teacher. I got to sub a couple times in a 3rd grade classroom. I got to be an elementary special needs teacher for a day. I got to do a little bit of PE. I got to do junior high English. I got to do high school social studies. So that is one thing that's been cool. And I've gotten to stay in contact with some of those kids that I've had before. And my wife is a basketball coach. So I've been to some of her practices and her games and have helped out. And so I've stayed connected with a lot of these kids. And of course, small school, I still get to see a lot of them. I see them at ball games whenever we go to ball games on Friday nights. And so I've kind of gotten a little bit of that teaching fix out in that way, getting to maintain those relationships a little bit. But it's just not quite the same as when you see them every day and you get to talk to them every day. And there's nothing quite like that. And so, you know my heart, man. You know exactly where I'm coming from, because it's, that's probably the one big thing. And kids keep coming back to me and saying, so are you coming back next year? So Mr. Miller, are you going to teach Spanish for us next year? And I keep having to say, I don't know, because I don't know yet, but it's nice to be wanted, and being able to at least be around those kids some has been cool. And that's one thing. If I keep doing this, that's one thing that I really want to do, is keep jumping into classrooms and make myself available on a volunteer basis to teachers and say, hey, do you want to do something cool with Skype? Or is there a project you want to do with Google Classroom? Or do you want to know more about, it's like if I can jump in there and help them with some of those projects when I'm not on the road, that's something I really want to. I want to use this time to do things that I couldn't do as a full-time teacher.
Right. So I was actually going to say, go ahead.
AJ.
No, I was just going to say. Whoa. Wow, we're like echoing together.
We are out of practice. Go ahead.
Yes, it's been a while. I was going to say, would you ever consider maybe getting some kind of certification in another content now that you've seen so many different classrooms? Or would you be like Peggy said, an instructional leader? Would you do something like that? Or a tech coach,
I would. I'm not so married to being a high school Spanish teacher if that's all that I would ever do. The idea of being some sort of instructional leader or a tech coach or Something like that in a school district would be really cool, because you get those relationships, you get to see the kids in the classroom some, but then you get to continually help those teachers, those same teachers, and you get to see the growth. That's the thing that I don't get right now. It's exciting to go to a school district and provide professional development, and if it goes over well, having people love it, and then I hop on a plane or I get in my car, and then I probably never see those people again. Right. That's something that's totally missing out. So I would love to do that. I think it would be cool to get certification in another area. Not sure what it would be though, but anything's possible, I guess. So yeah. So let me turn that around to you guys. If you could get a certification in some other area, what would it be?
Man.
I don't know. I think I'm kind of living the dream being a tech coach. Like, so AJ's question about, do you see this translating into something that you could do full time in your own district? Like, is this the position that they would create for you, or create for someone in general? We have, I think our assistant superintendent of curriculum said that there are about 20 coaches in my district doing all kinds of things. I'm tech, and then we have a couple of curriculum and instruction people. We have some ESL people. So we're kind of scattered all over the place, but I think our numbers now are up to 20. But we're also not a single building school district. We have 10 buildings, and we're growing. So is that something that could happen for you? Or my other question is, through your experience being in all of those classes in a subbing position, and I did that early on in my career. I was a permanent sub, so it was kind of nice to see the gamut and just see different structures. Do you see that as an opportunity for more writing?
I think the first half wasn't the first half of that question. You were asking about, is that something that might come up in the future? And see, my school district. That my school district is kind of the exact opposite of yours. We live in such a little rural area. Funny story about my school district. There's a huge Amish community in my school district. And of course, Amish kids don't go to public school. So, that, and then being in an agricultural area, as more and more of the Amish population buys more and more land, that means that our population shrinks. Our school district has been shrinking in enrollment since the 70s. And we're having to do a consolidation with another school district in our county so we can survive. Our enrollment got so low that the state of Indiana quit giving us money and started fining us for being too low in enrollment. Wow. Yeah, if you can imagine that. Yeah, so we had to So we had to, the first they called it reorganize at the corporation level to bring both school corporations under the same corporation so that we could get our state funding back. And now they're talking about consolidating all of the schools. And so it's like we're taking two staffs and merging them into one corporation. And so I don't know that everybody's going to keep their jobs. And so it's kind of like the exact opposite situation of a lot of the schools and a lot of the people I talk to, because we just don't have the kids. They're going other places because their parents need to work, and they don't have that work in our school. So anyway, I would love, love, love to be able to do that in that same school district. But I just don't see it happening. And yeah, any opportunity I get to, I think even after, no matter what I do, I think I'm going to keep writing. Before I was a teacher, I was actually a journalism major in college, and graduated and went on to be a newspaper reporter for a few months before I transitioned into teaching. And so that's all still in me, as a writer. And that's how my blog started. Was I just had that itch to write, and I had to write about something, and I was passionate about education and the power technology can have and everything. So that's how Ditch That Textbook got started. And so yeah, I think the writing is going to keep going. So
That's fantastic. I imagine that like you're the person that Chris is talking about when he talks about like stop curating, start creating. You're the ultimate creator in that you have a blog, you have a podcast, you've written a book. I mean, the stuff that you're creating and the information that you're sharing so others can create more has been phenomenal, and I thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, thanks. And I love being able to create, having that opportunity. And I know when I was in the classroom, it was so much harder to get stuff out, but I would continue to do blog posts by, getting up in the morning at like 5:45 and banging out a blog post before I went to school, or recording podcasts in the evenings and then going into school the next day. And so that's another thing. I just feel like I'm so blessed to have this opportunity that I want to create even more. I want to give you guys more stuff, whatever I can come up with, just because I've been given that opportunity to do it,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Now, Matt, speaking of your stuff, because first I'm going to answer the question. If I could get certified in something else and teach it,
please do.
it would be phys ed.
Yes. I still think, how cool would that be to be an elementary PE teacher? I think that's like the dream job right there.
I got to do it for a little bit of time in a Catholic school when I was still going through my teacher prep program, but I did it. It was great. It was like I did K through 8, and I was making up games. I was the ultimate kid, leading them through all. I mean, it was just great fun to just play and just promote movement, and so that's always something that's interested me. So, being an intramural superstar.
Yes.
I think I would do it just for the wardrobe.
Yes. I know.
Because
I
sports every day if I could.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got to sub for like 2 class periods in a PE class, and we played knockout, that basketball game where you're trying to knock other people out of the line, and they played ultimate frisbee, and I was like, oh, this would be such a cool thing to do. So yeah, I totally hear you on that.
And until that health marking period rolls around.
Yeah.
We have separate health teachers. They are my heroes.
Oh, look at that.
Nice.
There's no way. I listened to some of the things she said she's going to share, and I'm like, oh, I have a 5th grader. Should I be talking about that at home? And she's like, well, I was like, can you come up to my house and just share all of this with him? Because I can't. I remember the first time they used anatomy words in 3rd grade health, and the teacher said a word, and I looked up, and one of the kids made eye contact with me, and I was just like, oh, because she didn't prep me that we were going to talk about like boy-girl parts, and I was just like, no, I can't do this with 8-year-olds. I can't even do it with my own kids. It's rough, especially having 2 boys.
So AJ, what was that if it wasn't social studies?
If it wasn't social studies,
Or in addition to?
Phys ed is actually no. Let me stop. I'm not gonna say phys ed. I'm not gonna take that. Guidance was always something I wanted to do. I wanted to be a guidance counselor.
Really?
I loved my guidance counselor. I could see you doing a great job at that, AJ.
I wanted to be a guidance counselor, and I want to do
High
that.
school or elementary? I think the focus is different.
No, middle. Middle. Because you know what? When I was in middle school, I was going through some stuff just because my mom was sick and she was in the hospital for a long time. So the guidance counselor reached out to me and really turned me around and helped me stay afloat. So it was like my family away from my family. And when I knew I wanted to be a teacher, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a teacher. Maybe I'll be a guidance counselor. But I got caught up teaching, and then I started going for a history master's, and I didn't do the guidance thing, and now I'm doing the administrative thing. So, guidance was always like my fallback. There's no other content I really enjoy. I can't do math. I can't do science.
Third on my list would be high school.
What'd you say, Chris?
Third on my list would be high school algebra.
Oh,
Cool.
I love solving.
No, then I feel like you need to be prepared for those other maths, and there's just no way.
just math in general. I listen to Jamie, I'm like, go away.
Geometry, not pre-calc. High school algebra 1. Love it.
Sound like my wife.
Yeah. I do envy Jamie's math mind because that's just something
I just don't get it.
I say bless your heart for wanting to teach math. That's not my thing.
But foreign language is also kind of interesting. What got you into Spanish?
I just loved it in high school. I had a really good connection with it there. I mean, even going in my freshman year to my very first moments in Spanish, I was excited about taking it. I took Spanish classes in college, not because I had to, but just because I needed electives and I wanted to. And so once I did my journalism thing, and I realized that I wanted to switch to education, I was like, well, I can't probably teach journalism full time. And there were like a handful of schools in the entire state where I could do that, nothing near where I was living. So, and those jobs were going to be really hard. I knew Spanish was a need area. You know, it's usually math teachers, math teachers, science teachers, special needs, and Spanish were the 4 big need areas at the time. And so, yeah, it just was exciting to me. And I love the fact that I can practically talk about anything in class. I can do almost anything as long as it's in the language. You know, I can play games. I can make up goofy stories where my kids are the stars of the story. We can do awesome things with technology. We can do all this stuff just as long as it's in the language. As long as it fits what we're studying, then we can do about whatever. So that's kind of what got me excited about that.
And then where did your fluency come from?
From high school and college classes. Everybody always asks me, oh, well, not everybody, but sometimes I get asked, well, where did you learn how to speak Spanish? And I'm like, college? I mean, I didn't go.
I took the same classes and I went to Spain and I'm still not fluent. Chris has a better handle on the Spanish language than I do. I listened to your podcast together and I was just like, okay, so Chris has totally got this.
I remember that. Yeah. We like busted out into Spanish mode for, like 30 or 45 seconds or something. So
it was great. I got it all. Yeah. I just wouldn't be able to actually say it all.
Yep. Well, whenever I would meet with parents, it was always, I took 3 years of Spanish in high school and I don't remember a word of it. And I was like, I am going to fix that.
My parents and grandparents spoke Spanish at home. It's really just a shame.
Oh, that's too bad. Really I'm so sad. Sorry for you, Stacy.
like Derek.
And Derek is writing in Spanish. I'm like, I know someone.
Yeah, I know. He's doing pretty good too.
The first thing it's Spanish words. I don't think he's actually writing Spanish.
He's writing in Spanish.
If he wrote it himself, he has used the impersonal saying. He's used a reflexive verb, and what else did he use? Yeah, lots of stuff. So, Derek, you're rocking the Spanish right now, buddy. Unless it's Google Translate, but it doesn't look like it's Google Translate.
See, I'm with
Remember,
Brent.
I'm a high school Spanish teacher. I'm the one. I have a very keen eye for, are you faking it and translating it, or are you really writing it? And I'm saying right now, I think Derek's is legit.
Well, he just said he lived in El Salvador for 2 years. I give him credit.
Oh, yep. Okay. Yeah.
We'll do it. Now, Matt, real quick, do you often dream in Spanish? Because I know that's a big sign to having a grasp of the.
It is. That's true. Well, it depends on how much Spanish I've been using recently. Whenever I've traveled in Spanish-speaking countries and I've used it a lot, I do every once in a while. I will say, though, when I started teaching Spanish, my very first couple of years, when I still didn't know what in the world I was doing as a teacher and I was really nervous to go into class the next day, I would go to sleep the night before and I would talk in my sleep in Spanish. Not even kidding. You can ask my wife about that. I would be like dead sleep and I would start teaching in Spanish, and it freaked my wife out at first. And so she's like waking me up and I'm like half awake and I'm like, I wasn't talking in Spanish.
That's fantastic.
To sleep. Yeah. So I haven't done that for a long time, but when I was really nervous about teaching lessons in Spanish, I would really talk in Spanish in my sleep.
Have you ever started one of your Ditch That Textbook presentations off by speaking in Spanish and then saying, oh, sorry, there was something wrong with the SAP button on me?
Actually, I like that. That's good. I got an award for teaching and I had to give an acceptance speech for it. And I did something kind of like that. And it got like no reaction out of the crowd. It was like crickets. And so I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to do this again. That's never going to happen again. So I haven't been brave enough to try it.
Next time out, I want to hear about it.
Okay. All right. If I get brave enough to try it again, Chris, I will let you know how it turns out.
There you go.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So I think it's time to kind of wrap this up. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, let's throw out first. Thank you, Matt, for popping on here and talking about podcasting. And
This is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, where are you going to be next?
Yeah,
That
my
was the
pleasure.
question.
I'm getting ready this week to go to the McCall conference in Michigan, their big ed tech conference. Looking at my board, that's probably the only big thing coming up. I'm going to be at ISTE again this summer in Denver, so that'll be exciting. Are any of you guys going to ISTE? I know that when it was in Philly, it was like out in your backyard.
I would
so
say it was
that's
right
why I got
there.
to see
If someone pays for
you guys
me, I'll
then.
be there.
Yeah.
Are you going to wear a yellow shirt
Yeah.
again?
I will wear a yellow shirt every day that I'm there. You better believe it. Yes.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like that yellow shirt is kind of like a billboard whenever I'm at conferences. It's like the glasses and the bald head and the yellow shirt. And it's like, if you even remotely know who I am, then you know that that's me.
Yeah. I was just impressed that you knew other people. It's like, Matt Miller knew who I was.
Oh yeah. I remember that moment I walked up and you're like, hey, I'm Stacy. Or I didn't even have to say I'm Stacy. I like knew exactly
You're like,
who you were.
like,
Yeah.
I run time.
Oh yeah.
Yay.
Yes, absolutely.
maybe Ditch That Textbook could sponsor the Ed Justice League and get us to Denver. Who knows?
Oh, stop.
Here, wait a second. Let me see. Oh, sorry, my wallet's in the other room.
Smart place to keep it.
We should start an ambassador program.
There you go. That would be awesome. Peggy says we can take up a collection.
Thanks, Peggy. We'll do a
Yeah. There you go. That's why we love Peggy.
donors choose.
Yeah, there you go.
I think
I
someone
love
said pledge sense. I was like,
There you go.
there's
We
a
could try that.
possibility.
Mhm.
It'll take.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Matt, before we let you go and we wrap this up, where can people connect with you and find your content?
Ditchthattextbook.com. I blog there twice a week about technology and creative teaching and innovation in the classroom. It's sometimes people are afraid that it's about like, I think textbooks are evil and we should never use them, but it's not really about that. Although I think there are probably better ways to teach these days than just sticking to the textbook. I'm on Twitter at jmattmiller. That's the letter J, Matt with 2 T's, jmattmiller. And yeah, those are probably the best ways. I'm on a lot of different social media, so feel free to hit me up there. I didn't realize when I was coming on this show that you guys were going to be like asking me questions. I thought we were going to just talk about podcasts. So it's been a nice, it's been fun. I didn't realize it was going to be. Maybe I can come back some other time when you guys are just talking about podcasts that you like or whatever, and we can chat about that because I'd love to talk about that too.
Speaking of podcasts, what is the last podcast that you've listened to?
Oh goodness. Probably, you mean like the most recent one, like if it went back in my history? Okay. I think it was probably the NPR TED Radio Hour, hosted by Guy Raz. I love that podcast. Every time there's a new episode, that's always the first one that I automatically turn on. Then there are 2 other NPR ones. There's one called The Hidden Brain and one called Planet Money. I love all 3. Those are my 3 favorite podcasts right now. Those 3. Those are great.
While I give my co-host,
I'm adding to.
while I give them the opportunity to put their last listen to podcast or make a recommendation, I'm excited because after a little bit of a hiatus, I finally got a new episode of the edtech.tv podcast hosted by Chat Room's very own Brent Warner. And
yes,
Brent does a great job with that show, which can be found at edtech.tv. And his podcast explores how the crossroads of technology meet education. And I was just so happy to get a new episode in the feed finally. So thank you to Brent for coming out tonight. And I am enjoying the latest episode of your show.
And that's why he said good morning to us, because we are also coming out of a little bit of a hiatus. My most recent podcast was Serial. I listened to this week's episode twice. A, because I found all of the names and players a little bit confusing, and B, because we went to Brooklyn yesterday and my husband hadn't listened to it, and he was like, let's listen to Serial together. I was like, okay, listen to it on Thursday, the date release, but that's all right. I'll listen to it one more time. So that was my most recent. That was last night. AJ?
For me, I was catching up with Angela Watson's Truth for Teachers. There was a couple there that I was enjoying. You know, it was good just for the drive. I love her podcast. Stacey, I know you're a big fan. I love her podcast.
I am a big fan. I have to say, the last few episodes, we have not seen eye to eye.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
tune in next week to hear why.
There you go. We'll leave you on that cliffhanger.
All
Yeah,
right.
just go back
So
Okay.
But isn't that the beauty of the dialogue that we get in the education community, is that we get to see other people's perspectives, and even if we don't agree, we listen to them, we read them, we hear them, we get to see how other people feel. I mean,
Absolutely. And it
that's
had
kind
some
of the beauty of
takeaways.
it, right?
It was just,
Yeah.
it was just different, our philosophy on that particular.
Yeah.
And she did 2 episodes on it, so I wasn't quite there with her. And everything else, I'm usually like, rock on, Angela, this is awesome.
I should definitely check it out and see what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
All
real
right.
quick, plug the name of your show and where people can find your podcast.
Oh, my show is called Hooked, and it is on the BAM Radio Network. And so you can just go to the BAM Radio Network's website and search for Hooked, and you can find it there. And it's also on on iTunes. I don't think it's available in, I don't know, iTunes or the BAM Radio Network website.
I think you're on Overcast.
I was to say, I find almost everything on Overcast. I haven't found.
Yep, you're on Overcast. I found you.
I haven't not.
There.
I haven't.
Had you.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. I'm still a little bit of a rookie when it comes to all of this stuff. It's like, I know how to record my shows and I know how to get them on my phone. And I know which ones I like, but that's about it.
As Chris says, at least you got your content out there.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and Overcast, the official, unofficial podcast sponsor of all things that we do here.
Thank you, Overcast.
Thank you, Overcast.
Yay, Overcast.
So thank you again, Matt. And podcast. I'm Chris Nessie. You can connect with me on Twitter at Mr. Nessie. My website is chrisnessie.com, and I'd love it if you checked out the House of Ed Tech podcast. Stacey.
I am Stacey Lindis. I can be found on Twitter and most other social media at Iron Tech, and my website is irontech.me, where I am writing a lot about podcasting in the classroom.
And
AJ?
I'm AJ Bianco. Yeah, that's me. AJ Bianco. Feel free to contact me on Twitter at AJ Bianco. And my blog is ajbianco.me. And I promise something new is coming shortly.
And something awesome about AJ is that his wife has a copy of my book.
She
I don't know
does.
if AJ has a copy of my book, but she has a signed copy of my book.
She has the signed copy, and I'm looking for her. I have sneaked some reads of that while I take it out of her bag and read it because she brings it to school with her.
Good for you. Good answer.
I figure if it's